All right, good morning. Thanks for joining us today. So there was a kindergarten teacher, and as the parents were coming to pick him up, it was a cold, wet, snowy day. She was helping a young boy put on his boots to go outside to the pickup line. So she put the boots on. If you've ever put a boot on a young child, it's an experience, because they don't understand how their feet slide. And she's struggling and pushing this boot to get this kid, and he's leaned back and fighting it, and she's telling him to turn, and she pops the boot on. She grabs the other boot. She goes through the same exercise. She gets both boots on, stands up, and goes, whew, and the little boy goes, they're on the wrong feet. And she looks down, sure enough. So she starts taking them off, and it's not much easier to get them off. She gets them back, switched around, and puts it back on again. And she's pushing and fighting. And she gets both boots on the right feet again. And the little boy looks at her and says, "These aren't my boots." And the teacher bites her tongue, and she's working up a sweat. So she starts taking the boots off again for the second go-round. She takes the boots off, and the little boy says, "Yeah, those are my brother's boots. They're hand-me-downs. My mom makes me wear them now because they fit me perfect." And she's about at her wit's end. So for the third time, she goes back to putting the boots on, and they go through the same trial and effort, and she gets the boots slipped on the little boy, stands him up, puts his coat on, and says, "Where are your gloves?" And the little boy says, "I stuffed them in the toe of my boots." Have you ever been through a trial in your life like that? No matter how many times you kept trying, something just wasn't going right. The stars were not aligning in your favor. And we've all been through trials in our life. And granted, putting boots on a kindergarten may not be the most significant trial you ever have, but it is a challenge. But we've all been through much worse. Today's verse of the week is James chapter 1, verses 2 through 3. And it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." Now here's what's interesting about this verse. First of all, it says, consider it joy when you go through something hard. Now, how many times have you been in the darkest moment of your life, the most difficult trial and challenge, and you said, wow, this is just a joyful experience? It's hard. And what's really interesting about this verse, it clearly points out we will face trials and challenges in life, because it says whenever. It doesn't say if. Whenever you face what? Many trials of many kinds. So the verse warns us that we're going to go through a lot of trials in life, and we're going to face them for a purpose. And that purpose is our faith is strengthened because it produces perseverance. Perseverance is defined as being persistent in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. Have you ever been working on something or trying to accomplish something lately, and it was really difficult, and it just seemed like there was one delay after another achieving success? Whether it's a work project, dealing with the cell phone bill account, there are challenges and there are delays, and you have to persevere. So what makes this verse stand out? This verse is often quoted because it flips our perspective on hardship. Instead of trials being meaningless, the author James says they can actually shape us into stronger, more resilient people. If you read the next two verses, verses 4 and 5, I'm reading out of James 1, it says, "Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Now that's pretty powerful. Not only is James telling us, look, you're going to face some trials, but change your mindset. Look for the good in it. You're going to face a lot of trials in life, but your faith is going to produce perseverance. And when you're in that trial, when you're in that dark moment or that low point of life or that challenge, we are to seek God and ask wisdom. What are you trying to teach me here? What's the life lesson? How can I apply this experience to help somebody else down the road who I may encounter going through the same thing? That's the seeking the wisdom. And God will show you that wisdom. He'll show you why you went through it. He'll show you why that test is making you a stronger Christian. James was the half-brother of Jesus. Okay, same mom, obviously different fathers. But James also walked with Jesus through his entire ministry. And James is writing this book at a time when the church was trying to expand through Rome. Jesus has already been crucified. He's already rose from the grave, and he's already ascended to heaven. And James is writing this book to a growing Christian population that's now scattered throughout Rome and still facing persecution and challenges and still having to hold church kind of at night or in secret location because they're still under a lot of stress from the Roman Empire. So he's writing this verse to a group of people who are really suffering and oppressed. And his advice sounds really surprising. Consider it joy when life gets hard. When life gets hard for you, do you get joyful? You go, wow, man, this is awesome. I'm going through a tough time in life. And what he's really saying is, God's working on you through something. He's not saying we should enjoy pain or pretend it does not hurt. He's not saying ignore the human emotion, the human feeling. He knows it's painful and hurts. But he's pointing out that the trial can do something in us. That it can grow perseverance, deepens our trust in God, and helps us become people who are steady and strong, that can face the next challenge in life with confidence, that can help somebody else going through a similar experience. Bob Ricord was a pastor, and he wrote a book called Forged by Fire. He tells a story that in his life and ministry, he realized one time he had let his health go. He couldn't remember the last time he went to the gym or worked out. He quit paying attention to his diet. He'd grab donuts there at the office in the morning. He'd go to eat some fast food at lunch. And he realized he had gained weight and gotten out of shape. And he saw himself on a video preaching once. He says, I got to make some changes, because he's still a relatively very young man, but he was letting his health go. Didn't go to the doctor, didn't get a physical. He was doing everything wrong. So he goes on this health journey, and he changes his diet. No more donuts, no more fast food drive-ins, and he starts hitting the gym really hard. And he starts hitting the weights, and he is sore as can be. But he's training, and he's got some friends, and they're kind of helping him along, and he's starting to run. He's getting on the treadmill, and he does this for months. He is every day committed. I'm eating right, and I'm working out. And he loses some pounds, and he looks okay, but for all the pain he's going through, all the sweat and effort, he's like, man, the results just got to be more than that. And his wife encourages him, says, hey, I can notice a difference in you. I just notice a difference in your personality and the way you conduct yourself at the church with the congregation. Keep going. Don't quit. Because he's at the point of like, I'm not getting enough out of this. And she encourages him, and he keeps going. Till one day he gets on the scale, and he has a significant drop in weight. And he's looking in the mirror, and he realizes, wow, I've lost some body fat. I can actually see a little definition in certain parts of my chest and shoulders. And his wife walks in and says, wow, you look really good, wink, wink. And it encourages him. And he's at the gym with his friends, and they're medical experts, and he's telling them what's happened. And they say, oh yeah, it's called the quantum leap theory. He goes, what? When you started this experiment, your body went into kind of a shock. It was a trial. All of a sudden, your body's not getting all that junk food, and all of a sudden, your body's doing things it wasn't used to doing. And your body actually kind of fought it. And your metabolism kind of tried to shut down because your body thought it was going into a period of famine. So it was trying to go into survival mode. But you stuck with it. And during that process, every internal organ, every muscle was building new capillaries and bloodways, and your heart and your brain was all connecting till one day your body decided this is the new normal, and poof, everything exploded. Muscles started to grow, fat started to melt, your lung capacity grew. All that work you put in, it's called the quantum leap theory. You broke past that breaking point, and now you're accelerating your health journey. And isn't that what this verse is teaching us? We go through difficult things, and it feels hard, and the struggle's real. But if we push through, there's a breakthrough and a reward on the other side. It's the strengthening of our faith through the perseverance. Pain usually feels pointless in the very moment it occurs. But James is insisting here there's a purpose in it. When we choose to lean on God during our struggles, we can discover comfort, strength, and even the joy he writes about. Not because the trial is good, but because God is with us in the middle of that trial. And that's the true meaning there. It's not the fact that we're going through something good. We're going through something with God by our side. This verse is played out in the 1994 animated Disney movie, The Lion King. I think about everybody here has seen The Lion King, seen it with your kids, probably grandkids, probably seen it multiple times. So in the story, the young lion Simba is in a place he shouldn't be. He's down in this valley, this gorge, playing. And here comes a thundering stampede herd of wildebeest filling up the ravine. And he's running for his life as the stampede's coming. And he clings upon this tree as the stampede's running through, and his life is in the balance. And his father comes to the rescue. Mufasa, the king, dives into the ravine in the midst of the fire, right there with him. And he climbs up and he grabs his son and takes him to the edge and saves his son's life. But we know in the process, Mufasa ends up back in the bottom of the gorge and is stampeded and loses his life. And what unfolds here is one of the most traumatic, depressing scenes in cinematic history, right? You see the dust, and the dust clears, and you see the body of Mufasa lying in the bottom. And the young Simba walks up and says, "Wake up, Dad, wake up." And he's nudging his dad. His dad is lying there lifeless. And you're sitting in the theater, and if you're a man, you're like, hey, I got something in my eye. I got some popcorn butter in there. You look over, and your wife's got tears streaming down her eyes, and then you see your kids, and they're like traumatized for life. Kind of like when you were a kid and you went to Old Yeller. All of a sudden, something's happened. You're like, what just happened? And the wife's like, oh, don't worry, just keep watching the movie. You need to go to the bathroom? And they're looking at the dad, and they're like, and the dad's, we're like, yeah, it's just a cartoon, son. It's just not real. Just keep watching, right? And what happens when the young Simba is laying there by his father? He's at the lowest point of his life. He is facing the ultimate trial in life. And what happens? The spiritual enemy walks up behind him. His arch rival Scar comes up and says, oh no, look what you've done. They'll never forgive you for this. You're responsible. You need to run away. Get as far away from your home and family as you can. Go. And what does Simba do? He runs. And he goes to a distant land, far from his home and who he was called to be. And he meets some crazy little friends, right? And life gets so bad for him, they even convince him to become a vegan. He's really at a low point in life at this point, right? And what happens? This crazy little mandrill monkey called Rafiki finds Simba and says, I know your father. And Simba responds by saying, no, you mean you knew my father. My father's dead. And Rafiki goes, correction, I know your father. He is alive. He goes, follow me and I'll show you. And we know he leads Simba to a pool of water, a reflecting pool, and Simba looks over the edge and he sees his own face. And he says, that's not my father. That's my reflection. And the little monkey says, no, look closer. And as Simba takes another look, Simba is now matured into a full-grown lion. And he realizes he looks a lot like his father. And he sees his father's face form in the water. And then he hears the thunder and the lightning, and he looks up. And he sees his father's face in the clouds. And he hears this voice calling him out by name, saying, you're my child. You belong to me. You have a purpose in life. You don't belong here. Go back. Go back and reclaim your purpose. And we know Simba goes back to the Pride Land and reclaims his authority. He conquers his enemy, and he reclaims his place as an heir to the throne. And isn't that this verse really wrapped up in a cartoon? And isn't that verse and that scene a lot like us? When we're at our lowest point in life is when our spiritual enemy will come to us and say, oh no, look what you've done. You can never be loved again. You can never be forgiven again. You've done too much. You need to run away and forget who you are. You are not, you forget whose child you are. What do? Too often enough, we forget that we're a child of God. And we go somewhere we're not supposed to be. And hopefully we don't become a vegan when we get there, but we go off and we get lost. But it takes one person, one message, one messenger to come and say, hey, I know your Heavenly Father, and I know what's inside of you. Come take a look. And it leads us back to reclaim our throne and our position as an heir of a child of God. If you're walking through something hard today, you don't have to fake a smile. But you can know your pain is not being wasted. It can be the very place where your faith grows deeper and where you find God closer than ever. Today I want you to name your trial if you're going through one. If you're at a low point, if you're facing a challenge. Maybe you've lost a loved one or lost a job. Maybe you're going through an illness or a sickness or a health scare. Maybe you have a broken relationship in your life that needs mending. Maybe it's with a child. Maybe you have a child going through something. Maybe you're older and you've lost connection with a child. Whatever it is, you might be going through a trial that just doesn't feel right. It's unsettling. Write it down on a piece of paper. Name it. You can't defeat what you can't name or you can't put your finger on. Whatever that concern is, whatever that worry is, or that task, that job assignment, or something you got to accomplish here in the next days or weeks, write it down. Put it by your Bible, your nightstand. Put it on your morning coffee pot. And every morning, pray over it and take it to God. Because James told us, if we let that perseverance, whatever we're going through, finish its work, and we seek wisdom and understanding, God will walk you through it. And you'll find that whatever gorge, valley, and whatever stampede you're facing, your Father is right there with you. Your Heavenly Father is in there, calling you to be exactly who He made you to be. And then you'll understand our verse of the week, James 1, 2 through 3. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Thank you. Have a wonderful, blessed day, and do whatever you can. Try to stay cool out there. We'll see you next week.